It was Mark Poulton that packaged it. Mark is fired. Tell Mark I'm mad.
Yeah, this is primetime Poulton. Keep it entertaining. You already know. Outworking everybody and he don't ever quit. Talking about plenty comics like Graveyard Shift, Sea Dogs, Viking Whoop, U.S. Assassin. Doing just what he loves. This is his passion. Bring more value to your dollar. No, I'm not fronting. That's how just a writer became a moral compass. This is primetime Poulton. This is primetime Poulton. Let's go.
Behold the King of Kings. On your knees, dog. All hail. Bow down to the King. Bow down to the King. In dread as he walked from the place where the traitor lost both his name and his face. Through the halls and the corridors, stinking in blood, he tasted his grin, and it tasted good. The King took his head, left him broken and dead. Bow down to the King. Bow down to the King. Bow down to the King, left none living, unable to tell. The King took their heads and he sent them to hell. Their screams echo loud in the place of their death. Ripped open they die with their final breath. They hail the King of Kings. Bow down to the King. Bow down to the King. Bow down to the King. Into the dirt. His will be done. Now feel your fear. There can be only one. Bow down. Bow down. Bow down. Bow down. Bow down to the. Bow down. Bow down to the King. Bow down. Bow down. Bow down. Bow down. The King is here. Now feel your fear. The King of Kings. All hail the King. On your knees to the King. The King of Kings. There is only one.
Just another boring day where nothing changes. Everything was normal till you came running.
What's up, guys? Happy Sunday. It's the Mortal Kombat's the Fulfillment King, Mark Poulton, and this is the Haunted Pizza Horror Movie Club, episode 111. Today we're talking Return of the Living Dead 3. I believe we have not one, but two special guests. But of course, I got my co-host with me. Let's bring him on right now. If I can find his intro. Here it is.
Dexter Weeks, the secret weapon in the game, with a pencil in his hand, he's carving out his name. Hawaiian Heat, the bad man with the ink, drawing worlds where heroes clash and villains sink. Haunted Pieces Pride, he's the one we need, making magic on the page, planting every seed. Batman with the...
Guys, let's welcome Dexter Weeks to the show.
What up, man? You got it.
Up, Dad?
Got it this time. What up, man? What a special show we might have for you guys. Well, not we might, but yeah,
Definitely,
man. Yeah, so get your questions ready for the chat. I mean, it's going to be fun. So,
is it just me and you today? I know Enrico can't make it, but is Mark coming?
I haven't heard anything from the universe.
Yeah.
I mean, why he would miss out on something like this? You know, I have no idea, but
that's all right. We're making up with it with our special guests. Before we bring them on, let's quick say hello to the chat. First in the chat. Oh no, this is different. Not first in the chat as always, but a new person. We got John Epple first in the chat. Finally, I'm first in the chat. What's up, John? Congratulations.
J.E. in the house.
And our usual first in the chat, Mark Pengrin, he says, sure you were. Mark says, Return of the Living Dead 3 is a 1993 romantic horror film directed by Brian Yuzna and written by John Penny. It is the third film in the Return of the Living Dead film series.
Yes.
Having recently witnessed the horrific results of a top secret project to bring the dead back to life, a distraught youth performs the operation on his girlfriend after she's killed in an accident. John Epple says, let me enjoy my non-prize, Mark. We got the Don in the house. He says, holy shit, I'm actually catching one of these live again. Damn, been a minute. Hail Poulton and gang. What's up, Don?
What up, Don?
Oh, Mark was telling me about this. The Barn 3 is in demand on Indiegogo. He just watched The Barn 2 last night. Dex, you and I, we saw a special screening of it with the producers. I had no idea Barn 3 is now on Indiegogo. That's amazing.
Me neither. I didn't know. That's awesome. I love the first two. So.
Oh, I missed it. Mark threw up the lightning bolt for the Flash. Mark Pengrin's giving Hawaiian Heat his due. Mark says perfect for Halloween season back ride and Pain 2. You know what? Our second host is here. Let's bring him on, and then let's bring on our first guest.
All right.
First up, though.
He's the king, the ruler of this art scene. Mark Hume's the name, living the dream. With every punch, he's raising the bar. In a world of art, he's the brightest star.
Let's welcome Mark Yoon to the show.
He made it.
Yeah, sorry.
What up?
So
what is up with you?
Yeah, we're getting ready for a great show. Talking Return of the Living Dead 3. Last week we had Brian Yuzna on when we talked.
Faust.
Yeah, the Faust.
Yeah.
And he said he was coming back this week to talk Return of the Living Dead 3, but he asked if he could bring a friend.
Yes.
And here he is, writer of Return of the Living Dead 3. We got John Penny in the house. What's up, John?
Hey, this is fun.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on, man. That's
I
awesome.
appreciate that. I just got a notice from Brian. He called me up and said, hey, you want to go on a podcast? I said, I'm always on for a podcast.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm a writer. I'll show up anywhere.
We love it, man. We love it.
We're all comic book creators. Every Sunday we get together and we review horror movies. So we happened to have Brian on last week to talk Faust, and then he saw that we were talking Return of the Living Dead 3, and he said, "Hey, I'll come back next week too." And then he asked if you could come on, and of course that it makes the show even better.
Yes, sir.
Great.
Well, I had a quick question, John, to ask you. I mean, I know you wrote for quite a few like movies, but I noticed, I guess on your IMDb, it was saying you directed Hellgate.
Yeah, with William Hurt, Carrie Elwes.
Yeah.
8 months of my life in Thailand.
Oh, okay, cool.
It was an adventure.
Do you enjoy like writing or directing better?
My home base has always been writing.
Uh-huh.
So that's kind of where everything has sort of come from. I started as a writer, and then I was writing, producing, and then writing, directing. And Brian and I have been friends since the movie. We kind of hit it off and just stayed friends all these years. And we have a little company together called Dark Arts Entertainment, where we distribute small genre movies. So
Right.
that's kind of fun. That's all sort of, still happening. So, but my home base has always been writing. And then from there, like I say, goes writing, directing.
That's fantastic. Yeah, we got to get you to write Beast of Blood, the movie we're working on.
I'm in. I'm a writer. Like I say, I'm in there. You guys know, by any chance, from that comic world, do you know a guy named Go Nagai by any chance? Devilman?
Yeah, he's the creator of Devilman and Amon and Lady Devilman and
Yeah, Yoon.
and Shadowcat. Yeah, all those. Yeah.
So after I did Return 3, I was hired by a company in Japan that Brian hooked me up with. And I wrote the live action version
Oh, wow.
of Devilman. And I went to Japan, and he autographed this for me, which I always thought was very cool. He drew Devilman for me.
That's amazing.
Isn't that awesome? And this is one of the original, obviously, the original books, original manga stuff,
Wow.
They never actually shot that version that I wrote, but I took the first 2 books, put them together to make it, because I needed an antagonist in the first. I don't know if you guys, I'm probably way down Devilman highway too deep, but
I don't know. Mark Yoon's a big fan, probably, right?
Yeah, I've seen and read all of it, including Amon, which Devilman is his own main bad guy.
Oh wow.
Yeah. There's a lot there.
But I took
iceberg.
the female from the second book and made her the antagonist in the anyway. But that's inside baseball.
That's what
it was fun. I really enjoyed it a lot.
That's great. That's
So,
great.
John, before you ever got into writing, were you a fan of horror movies and comics? And
the first, oh, look at that! Oh my God, you got him! This is so cool. Wow.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Devilman. I love all Go Nagai stuff.
This is cool.
Yeah.
No, I I'm one of those nerds who picked up a Super 8 camera, and the first thing I did was, I grew up in a place called Carmel Valley, California, which is Central Coast. We actually had Clint Eastwood as our mayor at one point, but I was more interested in. I picked up a Super 8, and I was making a movie called the Carmel Valley Egg Beater Massacre. So this guy his chewing up guts with an egg beater, and then that's where I started.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
that's right up our alley, man. We love that kind of stuff. So.
And my stepfather was a science fiction writer in the 50s, Ward Moore. He and Ray Bradbury were contemporaries, and my mother, a woman named Raylan Moore, passed away now, wrote a lot of stuff in Dangerous Visions and a lot of published novels. And Ray Bradbury wrote introductions to my mother's books and stuff. So I came from a background of science fiction and not heavy on horror. And vowed I'd never be a writer because it was so boring looking. They're all just sitting there at a typewriter with nothing. And I'm like, haven't you seen a movie? Go see a movie. These are great. I want to do that. I don't want to write.
Good for you.
You remind me, I write comic books. I went to my son's school once, and one of his classmates said to me, being an author must be a very lonely life. I was like, wow, I never thought of it.
Do you guys know Greg Rucka by any chance?
Yeah.
Greg, I knew his brother through the grapevine, another horror fan, and I got to meet Greg. Greg basically gave me an hour lecture on here. Have these scripts for Punisher, this is how you write comic books. He just gave me all his info. He says, and by the way, don't show anybody those because they haven't been made yet. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. But I never got the opportunity to write comic books. I worked on some stuff with Brian and things like that.
Yeah.
We had a graphic novel called The Pope, which was really fun.
Oh, wow.
But it's always been an interesting, and he gave me some tips that I thought were really interesting, stuff I wouldn't have known coming from the screenwriting side when you're dealing with comic books. He said, car chases don't translate. Don't do car chases in comic books. You get maybe 2-3 panels and that's it.
Yeah.
Not easy to draw either. So
exactly.
Let's check in with the chat. Nicholas Gear in the house. He says Yoon was late because he had to finish watching Under Siege again. We got Missy Duran in the chat. What's up, Missy?
Yes.
Let's see. We got DeAndre Robinson. He says Go Nagai is great. I'm a big Violence Jack fan.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah. So, John, I'm curious I have a bunch of questions for Returning Living Dead, but probably my biggest question is, since it was the third one, were you given any any guidelines, things you had to follow since there was 2 movies?
It's an interesting story, and that question comes up a lot. Well, first of all, I worked on the first one. I was a second assistant editor, which was I was the guy putting the audio with the picture. That was my whole job. But the fun part is that I was there during the production. Our offices were right across the hallway from where we were shooting in these warehouses in Burbank on the first one. And so I had lunch with everybody every day, and we watched the dailies, and I was on the set to be able to see the half corpse talk for the first time. And I'm like, damn, I've not seen this. What's his name was doing? Shoot, my mind's a blank. Alien writer, Dan O'Bannon. I wasn't sure with what Dan O'Bannon was doing at the time. I say, I've never seen this stuff in zombie movies before. Phenomenal. He really got into the whole idea of taking the zombies' point of view in different ways, right? First, they're speaking. It hurts to be done. I'm going, holy crap, this is amazing. And then when they start getting rigor mortis and I'm like, wow, I love this. It was so exciting. Then I went off and worked on another movie, and I had written a movie called The Kindred, which is Rod Steiger, Kim Hunter movie. It was a creature movie, and then they came back.
Hello.
Welcome, Brian, to the show.
Hi, Dex.
Hey, what's up, man?
They were just asking about, did we have to, were we prescribed anything that we had to follow? And the only thing that I could say is once I went in and pitched it, I came up with this, the love story idea. And Brian had been thinking in a parallel track about bringing, obviously, what I think was really interesting and innovative about Return series is the zombies awareness, right, for the first time. And so I was lucky. I went in and pitched. Brian picked my premise, and we just worked together from then on. And it turned out pretty good. I was really happy with the way it worked, but there was nothing that they told us, really. I mean, right, Brian?
Well, they did. Yeah, they said that we didn't have to have the same actors.
All right.
We didn't have to have the same characters, because the second one had even brought back characters that had already been used up.
Yeah, that's right.
It didn't have to be funny. And so I said, well, what are the rules? What do we have to have? And they said, you've got to have the trioxin gas and you've got to have brain eating. Other than that, it's wide open.
That's all you needed, right?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah,
Now,
it was really Brian that told me anyway that he just said, no, we can just go our own direction. And for me, it worked out great, because the way the rights holders work is if you use characters, and Brian knows this well from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, if you use the characters from previous movies, then you have to credit that original. But if you don't, then it's wide open. It's considered an original script, which was great for me. That turned out great.
Now, Brian, how did this project come to you? Were you a fan of the first two films?
I love the first one.
Yeah.
I thought that. As a matter of fact, I visited the set of the first.
He was on the set. That's right.
Oh wow.
I really liked the first one. I think it was Dan O'Bannon showed everybody how to do EC comics on screen. Before that, they did stuff like Creep Show, where they'd have an actual comic book frames.
Right.
They had this whole kind of the Batman TV show version of what a horror comic on film should be.
Right.
But I think Dan just made the real deal. I mean, I think that's still just an amazing movie.
Yeah. We discussed that not that long ago, right, Mark? Or the original?
Yeah, that was probably earlier in the year we talked that. By the way, guys, we have 175 people watching on X, Facebook, YouTube. If you're new to the channel, hit subscribe, hit notifications. We're here every Sunday talking horror movies. Today, we're talking Return of the Living Dead 3 with the producer, Brian Yuzna, and the writer, John Penny. We got my fiance in the chat, Missy. She says Mark's favorite things for a movie, romance and horror. She was making fun of me because I was saying how part 3 was a departure because it was really at the heart of it. It was a love story, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, I enjoy that aspect of it too. That's why I really like Warm Bodies a lot, even though people make fun of me for liking that movie. Yeah. But my favorite aspect of this movie, and why it is actually my favorite, by the way, is not only did you find like the hottest woman on the planet to be like your lead actress, and gave the movie a lot of personality, but the fact that the zombies are the actual heroes of this and like the humans are like the bad guys is like what really makes me like the movie a lot. Because you can do zombies like every other way that most people have already done that. But whether or not like this movie ran so others walked before it or whatever, I really like the way this one was implemented, writing wise and directing wise. So
what I liked was I remember John's original pitch, and I had been wanting to make a living dead or a zombie or a reanimated corpse be the hero of a movie, be the main character. And in Bride of Re-Animator, I didn't bring the bride back until about the last 10 minutes out of lack of confidence. And then afterwards I said, God, she should have been the movie.
Yeah,
you know,
great.
she should have been the movie.
You know what, Brian? After watching all your stuff, you were really making like a Justice League before like all that stuff was on. Like if you had an original Dark Universe with they're basically comic book movies at the end of the day, and like
certainly Bride is, and of course I think Return of the Living Dead 3 is because
and Faust
coming
like, you team all these guys up, man.
Of Dan's comic book movie. I thought what was wonderful about the great opportunity in this, to me, was that we were making the second sequel to the alternate sequel to the seminal horror movie of our time.
Right.
And so John and I got to do a sequel to both Return of the Living Dead and Night of the Living Dead. And I think that's why it didn't occur to me to be funny with it. And yet almost everything else I've done, I've made, you know, Bride of Re-Animator arguably is sort of a bunch of sketch comedies linked together. You know, if you look at it that way, it's entertaining. You know, it doesn't necessarily hold together as a movie, but there's like all these wild, kind of wacky scenes. But for some reason, and we had all the opportunity because of Dan O'Bannon's movie was funny, and then Wiederhorn's sequel was very consciously funny. And I think that, but I don't remember. I think my criteria was I kind of wanted something that would where the zombie would be the main character, and and that's what John pitched. And he had the great idea of the military making them weapons, which just makes, of course, all the sense in the world. And he had the dynamic between sort of the evil, I forget what her name was.
So Sarah Douglas played her.
Sarah Douglas's character, who wanted to put him in exoskeletons.
Colonel Sinclair.
And then Kurt's father had the freezing bullet. That was all in the original pitch. And then the Romeo and the love story just gave it a spine. And I do think it's a very emotional movie, but it's got all the beats of kind of a classic kind of horror sci-fi, kind of 50s type of thing, where there's a scientific element to this whole thing.
Absolutely.
And who was it that was just telling me recently? God, I meant to tell you this, John, but somebody was, forget who it was, were going on about the Riverman speech with the coin, which I always thought was a little kind of, okay, we'll take it. A little obvious, But whoever it was, I think he was a European, so maybe that accounts for it. Was like, oh, I love the coin. Oh, the coin.
The Mardi Gras coin.
Yeah, that was great.
It's funny because you were talking about one of the things that Brian really did was he added what I always called the fourth act, which really brought Julie back and you really sympathized for her. I had my original pitch ended in the big showdown with his dad there and the things were going to hell and then Julie gets shot. That was the original pitch ending. And then Brian said, no, we need this extra movement in the piece, which is when they go back and and she's now in a cage and he has to break her out. So I think
also we wanted to have that bit where she kills herself.
Yeah.
Which of course she can't, but it seemed at one point we were trying to have a wedding. We wanted to have the red bride.
Right.
That classic. I don't think there's paintings of. I think it's a medieval thing. The red bride,
Right.
Woody Keith had a red bride painting in his house, which I always liked. I'm trying to remember what the mythology of it is, but so it was kind of like she had to. That was sort of their honeymoon night, when they go to Riverman's.
Yeah. That was actually. Yeah. It's funny you were saying how much you appreciated this one over the other ones. I know that's a weird thing to say, but I keep getting people coming up and saying, "Hey, I was listening to Quentin Tarantino on a podcast, and he says that part 3 was his favorite.
Yeah,
he didn't like the first two. He thought.
Well, he said that with just a couple tweaks, that's a Re-Animator sequel,
which is perfect.
Which kind of makes sense because with the inspiration of the bride of Re-Animator, right. But the bride never really had a love story. I mean, in her mind, maybe, but Julie had a real love story.
Yeah, the actress who played Julie was great. DeAndre Robinson in the chat, he wants to know, how was it working with Melinda Clarke?
She was when we did the casting. I think you were there for the casting, right, John?
I was running the little video camera.
Yeah. We saw a bunch of actresses, and she had just finished playing Nancy in a kind of a showcase theater performance of Sid and Nancy. Remember that movie? I'm not sure. I think the movie was not based on a play, but then I think they did like one of those 99 the equity waiver plays of Sid and Nancy. And so then she played she kind of played Julie kind of like a drug addict. Mm-hmm. And that kind of makes it more accessible because everybody can identify with being in love with someone who has a big problem.
Sure.
And so then it kind of makes it not so it's not like you're going into some weird fantasyville. You can say, yeah, I can understand that emotion. And then there was a lot of steps along the way of her devolving to a point where Kurt can't forgive her anymore. And that's when she eats Riverman's brain. I think that same somebody was asking me, why did she have to kill Riverman? I said, because she has to do something to make Kurt turn away from her.
Right.
She has to be completely lost.
Exactly. Right.
Now, one of my favorite things about the character Julie was how pain made the hunger go away. So she started mutilating her body. John, was that your idea?
Well, I had what I like this. This is how it worked with Brian. I think Brian always comes up with these amazing ideas. He came up with the idea. He says, Julie's going to be the poster. And I said, oh, okay. He came up with the idea of her doing this self-body modification. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. So my job was to figure out how to root that into the narrative. You know what I mean? Come up with the character's justification, the story's justification. And it's funny you would say that. I was just about a year ago, I was in Portland Horror Film. The people who run Portland Horror Film Festival, Gwen and Brian, had me come up for a screening. And they're in a t-shirt company. They make t-shirts. And they made a whole t-shirt that says, exactly that quote on it. And,
that's a typical thing. A lot of people who have trauma in childhood, they'll cut themselves.
Right.
And it's the pain. It's sort of that pain makes the emotional pain go away.
For distraction.
Being very self-conscious about the antecedents of the movie, the Night of the Living Dead and Return of the Living Dead, to make it work for both of them, the hard part was the idea of brain eating. So brain eating's a joke. Right. It's a horror comic book joke. It's like, eat brains. In the first movie, it's the big joke, more brains.
Right.
It's a joke. So in trying to figure out the logic of why they would do that, the idea and you can see this in Beyond Re-Animator, if you've ever seen that, there's the same issue, which is if you reanimate a corpse, why are they weird?
Right.
So what? You bring them back to life. So what? Mm-hmm. So then the idea in Beyond Re-Animator, which Wes finds out, is that there's this nanoplasmic energy that when you die, it escapes the body, which is basically, it's true. When a body dies, it weighs, they say, 23 grams less or something. Just like that, right? Something goes out of it. And so Wes decides he's trying to perfect the reanimated corpses. And he finds out that when that stuff leaves, people act crazy. But the thing is, it's because the NPE is what tells the cells how to grow. Mm. And in the Return of the Living Dead 3, in my mind, it was, why would they eat brains? Well, it's because they die, and now their cells are all dying.
Right.
Not the cells, but the first thing that's decaying is the nerves. That's the finest part of our body. So then my argument was the reason that in the first movie, even Night of the Living Dead, the reason they're cannibals, they're not trying, that's a joke too. Right. Zombies are cannibals. It's a joke thing. It's a trope.
Right.
But if you think of it in terms of, well, they're hurting, and Dan O'Bannon, as they say, how does it feel? It hurts if you're dead. Why? Because you're decaying. You're aware of the fact that your body's decaying. so the nerves are what are decaying. So when they eat the flesh, they're trying to get to the nerves.
Mhm.
And the most of them are up here. And so then that also gave us the way to design Julie. She got to have claws and a rock so she could crack the oyster and claw out the brain.
Because I was wondering what
And
the
that
rock
gave
was.
her, that made her a monster that made sense. You know, it's like, well, that makes sense. That's what you would do.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the things that keeps her, that she knows, like in every zombie movie, you know, there's always the scene, kill me, I don't want to be one of those monsters. Another trouble. So if she doesn't want to be that creature, but she finds out that if she hurts herself, that takes the hunger away.
Right.
And the other thing is love takes the hunger away.
Awesome.
And so it's sort of between the two poles of pain and love. And
Yeah.
that was one of the logos we wanted to use was love hurts. You know? But the one I love, well, I think the one they used was She's to Die For, right?
Yes.
I think it's really fun.
I have a question about Julie particularly, actually, that I was wondering in the movie, because she's very different from all the other interpretations of zombies, not only in other films, but in this one specifically itself. Do you think that's because she died from, like, you know, really quickly by having her, like, you know, neck snapped and then, like, the breathing in the trioxin gas and just being reanimated? She wasn't, like, bitten, or, like, it wasn't, like, you know, contagion.
I would say that it's her love.
She's more conscious. You know what I
think
mean?
it's her love for Kurt.
Right.
I think, yeah, that is sort of true, but I bet if you go back in those movies, you'll find people who didn't get bit. In George Romero, they always get bit.
Right.
Although, remember, in Romero's original, it isn't that they get bit. That came later.
Mm.
Originally, it was just that, you know, when hell is full, the dead will walk the earth. And on the first one, he said, no, it was something they brought back from outer space, from the satellite or something. It was unclear. And then eventually, I think it just made sense. And by 28 days later, it was a virus.
Right.
We went full on pandemic.
Yeah.
You know, and then it was, but that's the same evolution that Evil Dead had going over to cabin fever.
Mm-hmm.
Evil Dead is a bunch of kids go get this ratty old cabin in the woods,
Yeah.
and they play around with a Necronomicon, and whoosh, here comes the evil. And the evil is going to transform them and kill them. It's horrible. Well, by the time we get to the 2000s and post-AIDS and all this stuff, we're just afraid of people. They're going to make us. Now the kids go get a real nice cabin on a lake.
Yeah.
And what is the danger? What is the monster? One of them gets sick. One of them gets sick and is communicable.
Right.
And so now that's the monster, which is very indicative of where we are, certainly in the 2000s.
Yeah.
Of what we think monsters are. They're just regular people that might infect us.
In the chat, Mark Pinger.
I prefer the supernatural, evil, demon, hells, bubbling over kind of thing.
In the chat, Mark Pinger says Melinda Clarke went on to be Jessica Priest in the Spawn movie and Julie Cooper on the OC. He also says, was this film an early horror DVD hit? He remembers selling a lot of copies when he worked at Best Buy in the early 2000s.
Well, 2000s, it had been 10 years old, right, John?
Well,
it was 93.
It was 93, so 7. You know, most of the people that approached me about it, they said I used to go in the video store, the DVD, and I'd see the cover.
Yeah.
And to varying degrees of sexual awareness, they were like either really turned on by this cover, or they were like their parents wouldn't let them rent it. I did a lot of those stories. And I think it was a big hit, later hit. It didn't do well theatrically, but as it grew through time, people associated, I think, a lot with the DVD release. So I think there's a lot of truth to that. I make wine in Central California, and I was with a wine critic up there in Napa, and he said he lost his virginity to the movie, which I always as a really kind of okay. I guess that's an interesting.
This is like a real softball you're pitching, and I'm staying away from it.
Well, one of the things.
Remember Melinda Clark in that famous movie she starred in called The Killer Tongue? If you haven't seen that.
Amanda says, "Yeah, Penger and I'll never look at Marissa's mom the same way." I believe that's a OC reference. But yeah, no, that VHS box cover that really grabs your attention when you.
I know that I subconsciously was involved in Karen. What's the movie? Not the Fulci movie. The Black Sunday. The man that has the mask. The Bava movie.
This one.
Oh, here we go.
There it is. Yes.
That's a Blu-ray from Germany, I think. But they use the same key art.
Yeah, what I wanted to ask real quick is they say there's an unrated version.
I kind of like this one. This is the Giallo version.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's nice.
That's great.
Is that the unrated version, Brian? Or
this one is who put this out? Oh, this is the Lionsgate. Yeah, this is a Lionsgate Blu-ray with the book.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, nice.
I think that's from Germany, actually.
Part for that's the big scene where she comes out.
Yes, iconic scene.
John must really know his way around women, since he wrote the women so well, is actually dying herself and then gaslighting her boyfriend into thinking that he was the cause of it, even though his love brought her back.
I've heard some interesting comments about how I look at love stories. I never thought of it that way. I was just dramatizing a situation. Right. But yeah, there's been some interesting thoughts on that front. But I have run into, I do adjunct teaching at the Los Angeles Film School, writing and directing, and some of my students have come up and I've had people say it was the most romantic movie they've ever seen, and I thought, wow, have you not seen like Romeo and Juliet? Or I don't know. And it's a very dark romance in a way, right? Very obsessive.
Yeah, and I know they made sequels beyond this particular one, but did you have anything in mind beyond that? Because like just the fact that, spoiler alert, that, they burned themselves at the end, that the gas would just rise up like the first.
Brian wanted to do more with the weaponization of the zombies, right? We were talking about that at one point, Brian, right?
Yeah, we had a sequel called Hail Mary, which was, well, I won't go into it, but
yeah. Well, that's great.
They did do 2 sequels.
Yeah.
I think Clint Howard was in one or both of them.
Yeah. I don't know.
Now I just really want to see Tarman in a bio suit, man.
Well, now Tarman, I don't think we matched.
No, you had a better version of Tarman. You had that Tarman 2.0 where he cracks his skull out of that was so freaking cool.
Yeah,
I love
that.
That was so awesome.
Our effects supervisor, Tom
Renoni.
Came up with
the extended spine. That's this is such a character piece because I hated all those characters originally, but now then when they became zombies, they became more characterized to the point where you actually like them and feel sorry for them after they die. That's what I really liked about it.
Yeah, I liked the gang. I thought the gang was good. A lot of that was improv by them. They just kind of worked together and followed the beats. But I thought Mike Moroff was a great leader of the gang. I love the scene in the convenience store where they're on the machine.
Oh yeah.
Video
she's
game.
like stuffing snowballs in her mouth.
Now, I'm curious, when you're making a horror film, do you have like kill scenes or like effects in your head that you want to see on the screen, or do you just let the script dictate what's going to happen as far as kills and stuff?
Well, for me, I often have specific things I want to see. For example, on Bride of Re-Animator, I imagined the finger eye creature long before the script ended up being written. I went through 3 different scripts, and the only thing that remained the same was West was in them and that finger eye, because I just wanted to see that thing.
Yeah.
But on this one, I'm not sure. I know from my point of view, I wanted to try to do a kind of I wanted to do a Dan O'Bannon comic book type of Living Dead. And I know in John's original pitch, it started with the basically the way the movie starts, which is the freezing gun.
Right.
And so that's pretty easy to imagine. You know, this is not going to be a normal guy standing up there.
Amanda B says, yeah, that's definitely different. You are sad at the ending for the zombies.
Mm-hmm.
DeAndre says, how did you come up with Julie's design? She made quite an impression on a very young me.
Well, you know, John and I did go to some fetish clubs looking for inspirations.
Yeah, we
and
did.
I actually saw a girl, kind of a goth girl, just like on the corner, my street corner, walking with her girlfriend down Franklin, and she was wearing that outfit with the jean shorts, the ripped hose, the kind of, you know, electrician's boots,
right,
the very revealing top, the red hair. And then I wanted to see the glass, and that's coming off of Black Sunday, the Bava movie, Karen Black. They take the mask off her and she has those scars, which always was impactful for me when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And so I liked that idea. And then the rock and the claws came out of the story. And then she would have scarification. And John and I talked, and when we went to the fetish clubs, it was like, we wanted to do tattooing too, which wasn't very common back then, but it would take too long. And then you kind of wanted to do scarification, but we couldn't have it heal because we're doing a horror movie. It's going to be 1 or 2 nights, you know? Right. And, but the scarring was good, putting the nails in because she's trying to have pain. All of that was growing out of the concept of pain or love, but it kind of made her kind of a fetish type of character.
Right.
You know?
Well, go ahead, Mark.
In the chat, Missy Dran wants to know, what inspired you to blend horror and love in the way you did? How did you approach keeping Julie sympathetic even as she was becoming more monstrous?
Because that's just real life relationship.
Well, I think that's the script.
Yeah, I mean, that was always the original, you know, I always try to find what emotional chord are you going to strike? Where are you going with this movie? And that was from day one, that was the hope, was to, you know, I don't write movies from what's the theme of the movie, but, you know, great love survives, right? Great love is transcendent. And that is sort of the idea here. I didn't think about it till once the movie was done, but the idea is that love is a greater thing than the deterioration of flesh. That tension that we see of her struggling so much and feeling horrible about herself that she wants to kill herself, even though she can't kill herself because she feels bad what she's done in front of him. So I tried to take it on the script through all the paces that you would have and approached each one from the place of emotional truth, for lack of a better word. I mean, I said, well, what would she be worried about initially? Well, do I smell? I mean, I remember that was something that if I was dead, would I start smelling? Would I start to rot? So I tried to approach every phase of her deterioration and ground it in some sort of emotional truth. Obviously, the details are not going to be, reality. But if I was going through that, what would I be worried about? Am I going to sleep? Is Kurt going to hate me now? But I have to do this. I have to eat. So there was that whole idea of keeping whatever the extreme situation was, just to try to bring it back to, is it emotionally truthful? Would that person being in this situation react this way if she loved, Kurt so much and Kurt loved her? Same thing. We talk a lot about Julie in this movie, but Kurt was a hard role because I always felt like he's got to sell this. He's got to be the one. He's kind of like the straight man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's gone down this wonderful rabbit hole of craziness and lots she's dealing. But Kurt really had to sell that idea that, he had to convince us to be there to really keep that love core alive. And
with a piggyback question, John, she was very vulnerable at the end, Julie. Like she was like a scared animal almost, but she still had a consciousness to recognize her true love, while all the other zombies are just like going crazy. Like, is there a canonical reason why you wrote her to be so vulnerable in the end, like even without her love being there?
I just think I had an alternative opening that we never shot, but that's another story. And it was always about, because to me, the original thing about Return 1 was, remember, it starts with the smoke, and the smoke goes out and it comes down and contaminates. I originally had this tag ending, opening and tag ending of the smoke of when they burn coming out and then infecting new for the next wave, right? We didn't go down that route, and I think it's better because it keeps it focused. Brian's instinct was, I think, correct, which was just keep it focused, make it the tragic love story of her going, spending that last moment with him in his arms and everything. But from that smoke was an idea, I think touches on the answer to your question, which was, it was always about this bond between them was bigger, and that it crushed her and humanized her at the very end, because like I say, in all these weird extreme cases, if you can just get to the emotional truth of them, that to me was what was riveting about Dan O'Bannon's movie. Even though it was, like you say, EC comic, there was this horrible truth to it about what would it be like if you were dying, especially when the two of them are going, they're slowly deteriorating, and now the grips of rigor mortis are setting in, and I feel that's a great way to take the character down all those different avenues of slow deterioration. But I think it comes back to that same thing.
Sure.
Yeah, I love how Kurt is always optimistic. And she knows when they're down with Riverman, he just thinks he just says, it's going to be good. It's going to be the way I love, he says, I'm going to play my drums and you're going to watch. and he just is and she says, man, don't you see, Kurt? It's not. And he says, no, it's all going to be good. And I think that's a very sympathetic character.
Sure.
I mean, he just, no matter what horrors he sees, he does not give up on the way he wants the world to be. And I think the real peak of that is when they're making love and he's totally involved and she's hugging him and she has to squeeze this piece of glass to fucking put super pain in her to be able to handle it.
Right.
And it kind of makes you wonder how many women have experienced something like that.
Yeah, again, emotional.
There's something about guys in love that maybe
Yeah, look at
Well,
that.
unrealistic.
It was interesting.
I mean, you call it optimism, but if you call it optimism, but if you got a young guy who's got Julie on his arm and only for 6 months, like I'm not letting her go either. Like I'm going to the end of the earth to make sure I'm with her at the end too.
Well, the other thing that I thought was interesting because when we were doing the Blu-ray signing a few years ago at Dark Delicacies, a guy came up to me and said, "You know, when I first saw this movie, I was Kurt all the way. I was like, dude, yes, fine. I'm going to be with that girl no matter what. And I would do everything Kurt did." He said, "Now I grew up and I have a kid who's a teenager. I identify with the father now."
Yeah.
He was saying, "This guy, what is he doing? My son." He's like, so again, I thought that was an interesting reaction that the older guy was now.
That girl's no good for you, Kurt.
Exactly.
Right.
Stay away from her.
Well, one of the things that I love about like just growing up watching horror films, I love like cameos. I wanted to ask you guys, I think it was in the beginning, was it Dr. Hickox?
Yeah, Tony Hickox.
That's Anthony, right? Is that him? Yeah, because he did Waxwork 1 and 2. And
he actually directed a movie I wrote called Contaminated Man.
Oh, no kidding.
William Hurt, Peter Weller movie.
Wow, that's great.
Later on, that was after he came in and did this stuff.
Well, he's the one that recommended the DP, Jerry Lively.
Yeah, Jerry. Yeah.
So we got our DP through him. He recommended Jerry, and Jerry was great for this. He was. I thought he did a real terrific job. And you know, John has a cameo in it. He dies. He gets killed by zombies.
Is that so?
He's the one that comes up to Kent McCord and said, "What's your line?"
Well, this was I figured Brian said, "I want to be a guy," and so I run in and say, "They found your son, sir. He's under the 6th Street Bridge." And that's a plot detail, so I figured I couldn't get cut out. So I'll try and do that. I was terrible at it, by the way, horrible. I was looking at where to stand to get my mark. It was a big mess. Luckily, Brian gave me a couple shots, and I got it down. But then I got to get killed, eaten by zombies at the end when I come out and say, "You've got to get out of here." No one recognized me because I was much younger.
Well, we do now, so.
Yeah. I say, "You got to get out of here, sir." Yeah, and then the zombies. No, it was a lot of fun.
I love how you wrote that in saying, "Well, I know they're not going to cut this out."
It's a plot point.
Yeah.
And plus, we don't cut out killings. You know.
Exactly. You're not gonna. You want
to stay in the movie, get killed or kill someone.
There you go. Because Mark and I, we did a little bit of extra work on some movies, and there were some scenes that we did. I in my mind, I'm like, "There's no way this scene's going to get cut," and sure enough, it never made it into the actual movie stuff. So that's great. So that's the key. Just write it in, Mark.
Yeah. By the way, we got 320 people watching on X, YouTube, Facebook. If you're new to the channel, hit subscribe, hit notifications. We're here every Sunday talking horror movies. Today, we're talking Return of the Living Dead 3 with the producer, Brian Yuzna, and the writer, John Penny. What a great show we've been having. Guys, I know we have to wrap this up soon, but
can I pitch a little something?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Well, there's a company called Encyclopocalypse Publications. I don't know if you guys are familiar or not with them, but they just released the screenplay in a book form.
Oh, wow.
You can actually buy it now. And they did this new artwork, which I thought was pretty cool.
That's great.
And it was done by Brian Stewart, who Brian Yuzna knows. So that you can get the published script now with either the original art or this new art on it. It's from Encyclopocalypse Publications.
If one of our mods can drop the link in the chat, that would be great.
Yeah. Ice Pick's good at that. So.
But do you guys have any other I don't know, fun stories from the set or anything to share before we start wrapping this up?
Well, I think one fun thing is that what's the name of the guy who played the store owner?
Oh, yeah, right. He was just with us at a screening.
Dana Lee, is that it?
Dana Lee.
Dana Lee. Yeah.
And when we were going to shoot that scene, I think that was maybe the only scene I didn't storyboard because I wanted to do it on the fly. I didn't want to storyboard it. Wanted to see the location and just not just be freer. Right. And Dana Lee played the guy, and of course he gets his head shot off, and then Julie eats his brain and everything. And he came to me that when we were shooting that, and he says, "Thank you so much. All my friends are so excited because we Korean actors never get to be in the zombie movies."
That is great.
So everybody was excited because he was, there's something I have always thought that horror movies just feel like real movies.
Absolutely.
They feel like the real thing. This is no pretension here. This is real movies.
And I just also wanted to share one quick thing that during the auditioning that Brian did, which really, made me feel like, wow, we're really doing something cool here, is that he would bring in a lot of female actors for Julie, and they would do the part, and they would be like, yeah, okay, I can, good enough. Now he would hand them a bowl of spaghetti and say, eat the brains. and wow. You could see instantly the ones that were kind of going, and it was a brilliant choice on Brian's part because boy, when Mindy started eating those brains, and went, okay, she can do everything. She's going to eat those brains with gusto, and she can act, and she played.
There's a great scene of that in Society during the shunting. In the middle of the shunting, there's a kind of I would have called her an old woman, except she's no older than I am now. And she's, of course, all slimed up and in the foreground of the shunting, and she's eating spaghetti. But it looks really disgusting.
Right. Well, what do you use for brains, by the way? Like in movie magic, like what do they actually?
It's usually gelatin.
Gelatin. Okay.
Yeah, gelatin is Jello, basically.
Right.
Speaking of movie magic, Brian, here's my last question. When Julie is being carried through the sewers when she's unconscious, is that a dummy body, or is he actually carrying the actress for all those takes? That dude must have incredible Hulk arms at this point. Like, that's insane.
Well, that was something that we talked about, because when she first gets killed, and remember this thing comes out, and he has to take her into the chamber.
Yeah.
And you see him on the video camera. He has to carry her. And then I remember talking to him. I said, you're going to really have to carry her. So don't be thinking, this is hard to do. And she has to be careful not to help him. If you're going to carry somebody, normally they kind of help balance their
prop up. Yeah.
And if somebody doesn't, you're trying to pick up dead weight. That's hard to do, but it's hard, but you don't want it to be fake. You want them to really, really do it.
I remember
and
that.
We really were down in the sewers, and there really are people living down there. Well, now you wouldn't question it, but back then it was kind of surprising, And Riverman was a great character. He has that great speech.
Yeah.
I seen what did he says? I seen the river rage like that back in New Orleans.
Well, he also gives us the best wails of the movie, because you get those iconic wails in Return of the Living Dead, like he has some amazing operatic wails in this, and I'm like,
and I like
that's
sold
it. It's great
when he's following him through the river, and he's saying, you know, I seen it in the, what is he says? I saw it in the morning, or saw it in the bottom of my shoe. Where the fuck is that coming from?
I just loved how supportive he was of Kurt's dream.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, I can see it happening, but what do I know? I'm just a guy who lives down by the river.
But look what this guy had to go through, you know, when they, on the effects, which all credit to Tom Ranoni, who kind of found the right guys for all the effects. And Steve Johnson, the great Steve Johnson, did Julie, because that was a very important makeup. That's what he focused on. It took a long time. And when we just designed it, he got a bunch of busts, you know, like that they put wigs on and stuff. And we put glass and different, trying to come up with the scheme. And the busts were based on his then wife, who was Linnea Quigley. So we were basically just, we had all these heads of Linnea Quigley with different systems of glass in her cheeks.
That's
and
great.
the and then with the effect for the Riverman was an exoskeleton, and all the effects guys that we'd go to kind of wanted to, like, you know, sculpt. You know, they do it with they do foam latex and stuff. So they sculpt it. They do clay sculpture. Then they do a mold, and then they pull it, then they scrape, then they erase the seams, they sand the seams, then they paint it to look like metal.
Right.
And so we just decided, no, just make one. And so Tom got this guy, what's his name, Ken Ralston, who was basically just a metal worker. And so he took his welding thing and made it out of iron.
That's fantastic.
And poor Basil
Wallace.
Basil
Wallace, yeah.
who played Basil Wallace, I'm sorry, with the, you know, had to put that on, and it was cutting into him. This was the real thing.
It's like real metal.
So he didn't have to act like it was heavy.
Right.
You know.
One last question. This comes from Mark Pengrin in the chat. Is it true Paul Rudd auditioned for this movie?
Not this one. I think he auditioned for Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, maybe. I think that's the one he did. Yeah. Of course, we didn't take him.
Yeah, this was a great show. I had so much fun talking Return of the Living Dead with you guys. Sometime down the future, I'd love to have both of you back to talk more movies. But is there anything we put the link for the screenplay in the chat? But anything else you guys want to plug before we wrap this up?
I think I had my plug, so I'm good.
Well, we really appreciate you guys coming on. This is awesome. Like we love the movie. We love having you guys on here talking about it. This is great. So thank you so much.
Well, I think I can plug one thing. I don't have the details, but you can look out for it on the 28th. There's a podcast called Chapo Trap House, and the Chapo Trap House is going to have a screening of Re-Animator. That's 40th anniversary, 4K in Brooklyn. They're going to have build the basement set.
Wow.
And then you can, and this is a subscribe screening. So you can join in, and you can buy a ticket, and they'll do funny commentary through the whole thing. Wow. And there'll be a bunch of merch and stuff, and they will, and then afterwards I'll come on and talk about it with them. So that's the 28th. And if you're not familiar with the Chapo Trap House, you should be. They're one of the biggest things going on Patreon. So this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Now, is that 4K? Is the 4K version of Re-Animator out yet, or is that still pre-order?
Yeah, it's out. It's out. Haven't you seen the bobblehead?
I don't see the bobblehead.
By the way, guys, next week we're talking R.L. Stine's Pumpkinhead, which is new to Tubi this coming week.
The special 4K, the high-end one, you get all of this. You get a book, you get all the versions, And then you get a Dr. Hill bobblehead.
Oh, look at that. That's great.
That's amazing.
Fantastic. Wow, that's awesome. Very cool.
That might have to be a
Hand
must
painted.
purchase.
Beautiful, beautiful product.
Yes.
All right, guys, that'll do it this week for the Haunted Pizza Horror Movie Club. Thank you so much to our guests, Brian Yuzna and John Penny. It was a blast having you guys on. And we will be back next week discussing R.L. Stine's Pumpkinhead. Thanks so much. And Penguin shared a link for the Chapo Trap House. So make sure you check that out, guys, on the 28th. All right, that'll do it. Thanks again for watching.
Kurt, who played Kurt and Julie, what's his name? Trevor Edmond.
Yeah.
He was in Pumpkinhead 3, I think.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
You'll have to get him on the show and talk to him about it.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks so much.
Thanks again, guys.